Hey friends, welcome to Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Dare, a serial entrepreneur who has already made all of the money mistakes, so you don't have to. Now I'm working on my money mindset, expanding my companies, and having open conversations with women around a subject that shouldn't be so taboo, money. My company, Woman-Owned Wallet, and I are determined to help you foster a more positive relationship with your wallet and help you create a life that makes you say, wow. Hey, moneymakers, welcome back to another episode of Woman-Owned Wallet, the podcast. I'm Amanda Dare, and I'm here with one of my very best friends now. I mean, we just enjoyed unlimited breadsticks, soup, salad.
How can you not be best friends after that?
Right. So welcome so much. However you're supposed to welcome people that you love to anything, but welcome to the podcast, Kana Brown.
Hey.
Hi. What's going on?
Just, ready to spill the tea.
I know, it should be like woman-owned tea.
We'll think of
we're just a maid service. We just clean up the tea.
Yeah.
Just mop it up. We're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for a therapy session.
Ooh, I'm ready to be your therapist. Sometimes I do think of myself as an entrepreneur therapist.
Yeah.
It does often happen. Lately, I've been needing the therapy.
Hey, we all have to switch roles sometimes.
And that's what I appreciate you so much for, because y'all, last Friday, I was like literally in therapy. And when I got out of it, I had a message from Kana and I was like, she was like, hey, do you want to go to lunch later? I was like, yes. Like, nobody ever invites me to like lunch. Like, I was like, I felt so cool. And then she was like, oh, where should we go? And like,
I find that crazy. Everyone I know knows you. And
yeah.
I'm like, how are they seeing and meeting you and talking to you if you're not like out with them?
Like, they come here and I sit here and then they ask me questions to help them.
Oh, okay.
And like, I love that.
Yeah.
And I love them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, to just be like, hey, friend, you probably need some friend time. I want to go, like, it's Oaks Day.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, like, Derby was last week. So on the day before the Kentucky Derby, which we're in Louisville, and that's what we're known for, it was the 150. Fancy.
It was so fancy. I had serious FOMO, but it's propelling me for next year. Like, someone better invite me to Derby next year.
Ooh.
But then I'll be sad if it wasn't as cool as this year.
Yeah. Did you see the like photo finish too? It was like Mystic Dan, I think, won, which my brother's name is Daniel.
But listen, it's very conflicting because I just learned that the horses are all born at the same time and you're not actually supposed to race them until they're like 3 years old.
Yeah, but they are 3 years old.
Or maybe it was older than that. So whatever age they were telling me, it was like, oh, they're actually racing them like maybe 2 years. Maybe
it's just like too early.
Yeah, and that's why they die so much, because they're like wearing them out.
Aw, poor babes.
I know. It like, so I feel conflicted.
I know,
like,
it is
I want to
kinda
wear
weird.
a hat and I want to get fancy, but also like, I don't want those horses to die. So it's just a very conflicting.
We just have to accept that, though.
They're not going to stop doing it.
And they won't stop. Can't stop.
Except, the circus barely exists anymore.
True.
So if enough people get rowdy about it.
It's mostly people. Like, let's just have people run the track that exists. I don't know. Because at least they have a say. But I don't know. Then people exploit them too. It's a whole problem that I'm not prepared to solve.
Late stage capitalism,
But I really like Oaks, actually, because it's the day before Derby. And that is like all the pink. They celebrate, of course, I love pink. That's when they celebrate the breast cancer awareness. That's when all the girl horses run, the fillies. Aww. They run on Oaks. So I always just like Oaks. And like you called me on, or you texted me on Oaks to meet up. And I was just like, yeah. So
we should have went to Oaks.
No. Because once again, it's like, we just needed soup, salad, breadsticks, and that chicken parmesan.
Amazing. I am not a... What do you call that?
Chain restaurant.
Franchise
I texted
chain.
you and I was like, so usually I would suggest like a small business.
But sometimes. And also I always rationalize people who work in the community or live in this community also work there. So
absolutely.
There's that aspect.
Yeah. And we had...
Why did I think about stuff so much?
Yeah, it's the worst. And that's why we go home and get high and chill out, because like... There's so much to think about.
So many levels.
We're
anyway,
way too aware of stuff.
I don't want to be aware. Like, ignorance is true bliss.
So we went and we were like, okay, what was his name? Alex?
No, I think he thought that was his name.
I thought his name was Victor.
So maybe it was Alex. Alex was such a
server.
cutie. He got me free tiramisu because I was my birthday is this month.
True tourist. She's just out there trying to get snacks.
All the snacks. And he was like, why not? And I was like, great.
Yeah, she was like, what do I have to sign up for? Because I'm not coming back here before my birthday. And he was like, I'll just bring you free dessert. And she was like, okay. And then I was like really sad. I was like, well, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. Should I be taking home tiramisu? But I was
you didn't go for it.
I should have, but at the end of the day, I got those 3 gravy boats of like different sauces to dip my breadsticks in. I was very happy. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know where we went to Olive Garden. And I texted her and I
felt like that was very obvious, but maybe it wasn't. Yeah.
But people listen from all over the world.
Listen, guys, Olive Garden still exists. I didn't know that.
It does smell like a chain restaurant when you walk in. There's a certain, like a community pool.
Oh, my God.
Like there's always
Don't say that because we ate there and I'm not
saying it's not clean. The bleach smell just kind of permeates like everywhere, but it's also
the drinks were so cheap.
I mean, we both ate. Remember, I was like feeling like some scarcity mindset around money that day. And so I was like, and then I was looking at our table and I was like, the amount of dishes on this table of like the breadsticks, the second bag of breadsticks, like the salad, the soups,
the pasta, tiramisu.
Exactly.
Don
I was just
Julio drink.
We looked at the bill and we're like, it's $40.
Which is crazy. I went to brunch the other day and just got maybe a brunch and a drink. It was $60 after tip.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man.
I thought my meal alone would have been $40.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, but it was lunch prices. I guess you can spend a lot of and free tiramisu.
So all that to say, you can still support franchises.
It's okay.
Sometimes it's more cost effective and a server there still lives in your community and makes money. So.
Well, and somebody potentially local owns it.
Yeah, that's a possibility as well.
Isn't it crazy that like somebody owns the company that makes these like everything? Like there's so much shit around us right now. And I'm like, somebody makes nails all day. Somebody makes like disco balls all day.
My dad is an engineer and he worked for this company that makes one part. It's like one part that goes on something super important. But I'm just like,
and you don't know what it is.
I don't know. This whole company just makes like a bolt. That's insane. But yeah, there's someone out there making something for everything.
That's not for me. One bolt.
I think it goes on a spaceship or something like that.
Well,
so
it's
like very...
And you need a lot of bolts to like do stuff.
And you can't have it falling off in the middle of a mission.
I'm married to an engineer and all day long.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's great. He's cool. But I know a lot of engineers because like we're in college together.
He always says there's like the chatty kind that, work well with people, but most of them do not talk to people.
Yeah, those are industrial engineers that like do continuous improvement projects like my best friends. Hey, Tori. Hey, Kaylin. But then there's, and like the ones that like can sell and talk between people that like don't understand what the technical engineer is saying. Mm-hmm. And my husband like is a liaison. I mean, he has a very long title that's very fancy and that's awesome. And I do know what it is, but I don't want to like out him. He hates every time I talk about him. So sorry. But it's definitely something that's like interesting when you like deep dive into like, it takes like years to develop the things that we're doing. I'm like, I'm just trying to like sell a sticker.
Yeah. And that will take me 5 minutes to make and like send off to wherever and then they send it back. But yeah. Years of development.
It's like that immediate
gratification.
Thank you.
Is that what you're looking for?
I was. You just finished all my sentences and dip all my breadsticks.
That needs to be a card for Valentine's Day next year.
I would dip your breadsticks in every sauce.
Yeah. For the pansexuals.
TM. That's true, yeah. No, it does. Listen, when I get into more greeting cards, I'll put that on there.
Write it down, you're going to forget.
Oh, I already did. Luckily, it's on this podcast and somebody will listen to me like, where's this card? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll finally make it for you. Well, anyway, so we're hanging out and I was so excited because like, yeah, I am friends with all these people, but we're all just so often in business situations. Like, it's not usually a Friday at 2 p.m. when we're like hanging out, getting a cocktail. But in Louisville, Derby week. Nobody wants to do anything.
Yeah.
But go to Derby. And so like all my meetings.
Or not go to Derby.
Exactly. Or like fully avoid it. So like none of my meetings were happening and all of that. So I was just so honored that you texted me. And I was like, wow, this is just such the perfect timing. And like I was stressed out from, like I needed that therapy session with my therapist that morning. And then I went to Von Mar because I was just like by the mall. And I sat in their department store and the person was playing piano.
Oh.
And they were playing Disney music, which made me really happy because I'm
like, how fancy.
It felt fancy. So I just sat and I listened to this like old lady play piano, like Disney music, because I had to use the bathroom in there, which, you know, like at Von Mar, like it's like a lounge. Like it's fancy.
I've never used the bathroom in there.
Go. Because like it's a really like
and
a
I
full,
love a good bathroom selfie. So
full wall mirror. Okay. Like the whole massive wall.
I'm going to put it on my list.
But do you remember, oh my gosh, do you remember when you used to go to the mall like in high school? You're like, oh, this is such a good place to hang out. And
no, because I was raised Jehovah's Witness and we couldn't do anything secular outside of school. So I don't have those memories.
Peep the side eye from Adrienne. She's like, whoa. It's so interesting. Like, so, okay. So do you have a lot of siblings?
I don't. I have one sister. Mm-hmm. We're 18 months apart. She's younger, although she's always been the older. Because she has two kids. She has a one on the way currently. Mm-hmm. And she's just always been more adult than I am. Mm-hmm. Adult or settled. I don't know what the right term is for that.
Yeah.
She gets to bring food to...
Traditional.
Yeah.
You know?
Very traditional.
Mm-hmm. She gets to bring food to where?
To any family gathering.
She's allowed? You don't bring...
Yeah, I'm only allowed to bring like sodas or pre-made things.
She's allowed to bring food. That's how I know she's a grown-up.
Yes.
I think that's a really good marker.
I don't know if that's across all cultures, but in Black culture, like only like aunties and up.
Really?
Like, get to bring food. Yes.
So in my world of being a white girl, like they just make me do everything.
Oh.
I mean, that's not true because I'm a terrible cook, but...
So like your elders don't like... Because how do you know if the food is good?
It's not good for my elders.
Okay.
Like, love y'all.
That's fair.
And I'm talking about my mom and dad.
Yeah.
But like most of the food growing up was like prepackaged or something like that. Like I don't have any recipes to hand down. So although I will say from like my husband's side, his mom, great cook. His stepmom, amazing cook. Like they've had it, but just my grandma like didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm scared for the day, which it sounds like it's not going to come anytime soon, but like the transfer of who does holidays or gatherings. Like
I've been doing them for years.
Goodness, I am not an adult enough to do that. I don't want to do that.
Even though your eldest daughter vibes.
Yeah, I just want to show up and eat.
Mm-hmm. I think it's what you step up for. And like, but when you're ready, like I just want to have I want it to be nice. So
well, I will say I love hosting, entertaining.
Yeah.
When I had a house with my ex-fiance, that was the whole thing. Like I wanted to make recipes in that house that would like be passed down to our children. And I became very like into being domestic. But I had the drive, like the drive and the reason. Domestic.
Yeah. So you had that drive and then...
But it's gone.
It left.
Yeah.
We don't know her anymore. Okay, so growing up, you had a younger sister, and you're saying like when it thunderstormed outside or when there was like a massive noise, you're like the apocalypse is starting, and y'all like talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well,
just trying to
revelation and, you know, essentially in that, is it a culture? In that religion, that only 144,000 people go to heaven. The good and the righteous get to reside on a perfect paradise, and then the rest of us, well, they don't believe in hell, but yeah, eternal death, essentially.
So hell.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not ready. Like, and then like there's, you know, the reckoning of who's good and bad. And so I'm like.
So you're just trying to be good.
Yeah.
Every day, all day.
I could have tried harder maybe, but.
And now, so like, when did you start to like challenge that?
Oh, I challenged it even when but until I got out of my mom's house, I could not. But I was the only one that, like, my mom and my sister are baptized. I did not get baptized during that time because I just knew it was like, this is kind of sus. I don't know. I want to go out in the world and see what's out there. It's not really that great.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I'll show up, but
like, I'm not going to put you down all day, but it's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, even dating, you couldn't really date. Mm-hmm. And if you did go on a date, it had to be chaperoned. So someone would come with you. I went on one date while I was still Jehovah's Witness, and we went to Timbuktu. I still remember it. And it was, then it was awkward.
Wait, you traveled?
No, it was that was
a restaurant?
A gaming place. So pinball machines.
I was dang, they're really getting y'all.
He's actually quote unquote, a local celebrity, maybe even past that, I don't know, musician in Evansville. So I'm sure he remembers that date. My mom wanted me to marry him so bad. I'm like, I think you want to marry him. I think you want to marry him. We're still good friends.
So your mom and your sister.
My mom and my sister, my grandma, before she passed, she was who kind of got my mom into it. So no holidays, which I was talking about this earlier. It's I don't mind that I didn't celebrate holidays, because even when I learned more about them outside of religion, it's just okay, well, just another reason to spend money. So I love that I don't have the pressure of buying 20 gifts for people around Christmas.
Yeah.
I am I wouldn't say it's my top love language, but I do love receiving gifts. But I'm glad that you don't have to wait all year. Get me a gift whenever. Don't wait till Christmas.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. So maybe growing up not receiving gifts, now you're ooh, this is fun. It's a fun way to interact with as a love language.
My mom was very good about always not all the time, but making sure that we had gifts or things so that we didn't feel left out when we went to school. So I never felt we don't get anything.
Right. Well, and what about birthdays?
Yeah, no. I mean,
no birthday?
No, I do really love my birthday. Now you do? Currently. Yeah. I mean,
you've already had your
since I was 23 was about the age where I've always had mostly really cool birthdays. Last year was probably the first year I didn't have a birthday party in a very long time, but it was a very tumultuous year. But yeah, I mean, one of the years my best friend and my partner at the time threw me at Kana Palooza because I had never been to a music festival and I kept saying I wanted to go, and they threw me my own music festival.
Wow.
After they had surprised me, wouldn't tell me where we were going, and drove me up to Nashville for a rosé festival. And my friend was living in Tampa at the time, so she flew there to surprise me. So I love my birthdays.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing this year though.
Eating tiramisu.
Probably.
We're going to go get Alex. And
I would like to do so in Italy.
I was going to say.
If there's any sugar daddies or mamas on here and you need to fly someone out to Italy.
Or vibes.
Yeah.
Hey, bring me along. We'll see where it goes. I feel like you're just a see where it goes kind of girly. Yeah. In the best, that's what I love about you. I can't remember if I read it or it was on podcast, but the word allow, and it was just allowing things. Instead of hitting resistance all the time, just allowing. And I feel like I'm on that vibe right now. Yeah. Allowing versus maybe receiving.
Well, always trying. That one was specific. We're trying to do these things, and that energy doesn't actually equate to something good at the end. So it's allowing or being open to things happening or not happening leaves room for you to have good energy going into it.
Oh, I like that. And it's it removes a lot of that expectation. And I mean, usually why you're upset is because it's different than you expected, or someone didn't meet your expectations. And it's one, can they, or can that situation meet the expectations? Yeah. And it's people are I'm not going to lower it. I'm not going to. I'm well, what if it's you're saying, it's more of an openness.
Yeah.
And an allowing
and
energy.
You can decide once the thing comes, actually, I don't want that, or yeah I do. But instead of having that expectation or leaning into the law of detachment and not being so attached to a certain outcome, I think gives you more peace of mind.
I think so. I agree. Okay. So Jehovah's Witness, did you all talk about money growing up?
So
what's the deal with that?
I don't know that I tied money necessarily to that religion. And I actually do still to this day kind of respect how they run things with money because you could do donations. They weren't in mega churches. And I want to say they built the kingdom halls that they're in. The pastors or elders don't get paid. So they all have regular jobs. They're doing the work of the Lord. Not to say that you can't be paid for that, I guess. But so I felt how they ran that maybe was more healthy than I had seen in, mega Christian churches, which are quite scary to me because I'm also used to everybody standing up and singing together. And so when I visit other churches and it's just like this rock band, do you remember those Christian CD commercials in like the 90s? That's what I feel like I'm in when I go to another church. And I'm like,
it's a lot.
It feels like the Truman Show a little bit. But yeah, a lot of them are cleaners and like, worked normal jobs and had decent houses and cars and things. So I don't know that I thought about money so much in that correlation. My mom was a single parent. So it was very much like, yeah, we don't have money for that. Or I want to say that she didn't say that often and like we never went without anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, money didn't feel like an attainable or easy thing to have.
Or maybe even like a focus.
Right.
Like it wasn't like a draw.
Yeah.
Or a motivator in like you're saying, like in an unhealthy way. Like a greed. Like those mega churches, there's a lot of greed.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Have you watched Righteous Gemstones? Oh, it's really funny. It's on HBO.
I'll have to check it out.
It's Danny McBride who did like, oh my gosh, he's kind of like a Will Ferrell kind of vibe. And he's done some stuff with him, but it's like a satirical comedy about 3 siblings that run a mega church and it like is coming down from their dad. Like it's hilarious. There's a lot of famous people in it. I can't remember all their names.
I'll have to go check it. It sounds funny.
It's very funny and like not at all what you would expect, expect.
Same diff.
Not to raise your expectations. Just allow.
Just allow it.
Just allow. Well, I think it's super interesting because I just hadn't considered like the way that they think about money and the religion and everything. And I just feel it's just interesting. And I'm so curious and I just love to hear how people like felt about it or learned about it and I think I agree, like wanting for nothing, like, yeah, you have things you need. You even have some of the extras that you're talking about that made you feel special and loved. And, money doesn't, you don't have to have money present to have all of those things.
I don't feel like we talked about money as much when I was younger, but definitely when I got, teenage and older, my mom was very like scared of everything all the time. And so even when I went into entrepreneurship, which was kind of by accident, was like, no, you need a job. Or when I went, even in high school, I got a scholarship originally to go to a hair school. And when I was like, you can't do that. Like, you won't make any money. So I went to school for, I think, early childhood instead.
Education?
Yeah.
Do you think she thought that because, it's such a job where if you don't show up one day, like you don't get paid that day? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I wonder
what
from
scared
being
her
in it and also knowing how much I pay for my hair.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lucrative business.
It is.
Yeah.
And I feel like even in a lot of like more recession kind of downturns in the economy. Hair done. Yeah.
I'm going to spend my last dollar to look cute.
Exactly. Like there's no changes in it, but I get my nails done all the time and I wouldn't stop that. Like I'd find the money.
I think she's just so used. She was in the same job for 30 years. And so had that, like, you want to get into a good job and stay there, that kind of mentality. Whereas everything else seemed more unstable.
Yeah. I will say, like, even coming from my grandma was a teacher and my mom, she had multiple jobs growing up, but then she became a pharmacist and she and my grandma would always tell me like that I scare them. Like the uncertainty and the dealing with like the ups and downs of it. Like
I'm like, you could literally go into work. I go into work tomorrow and like they could just buy like everything everywhere is at will, I think.
Well, yeah, it is.
Termination. So
well, and like watching my parents, like there was other times where they restructured a company and the next day you don't have something. Like, yeah, to me. And I think I talked about this on another episode of the podcast. I think it was with Jess Ambergy, where it's like, is it really that stable? Her. Right. She's the best. Is it really that stable to have 9 to 5?
It's really just perspective. I love knowing now that I'm in like my first job stint that like, if I do get fired or whatever happens, that I know how to make money without someone employing me legally. Let's just put that disclaimer.
You can legally make money.
I legally know how to make money without an employer.
Yeah, because you've been in that situation. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurship journey then to give everybody some context. Like, So you ended up going to esthetician school. And I want to clarify, like, is a hair school, esthetician school, like they are different?
They are different. Usually they're housed in like the same school. So there was an aesthetics program that was fairly new. I think I was like in the 3rd class and it was inside of the cosmetology school, but they are separate licenses. Although some cosmetologists can do, like there's a little bit of overlap, like makeup. I want to say maybe they can do face waxing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so aesthetics is full body waxing, makeup, and skincare. And yeah, it was actually the year my mom got cancer. And I think that's when she kind of started to realize like, oh, we can't control everything. So she's like, do whatever makes you happy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this.
So her like perspective shifted. And how is her?
She's in remission.
Amazing.
It's been
Sorry, I didn't know how to phrase the question quick enough.
She's alive.
She's here.
She's here. She's a little grumpy, but she's always been a little grumpy. But
Same.
She's alive and in remission. And during that time, it was, I mean, she would still send me like job postings. Like she wasn't completely like.
I mean, it's interesting because she could have gone the direction more of like, get a job because I want to know that you're taken care of, you know, and it's almost that concept like you're saying of like, I want to know that you're taken care of in the fact that you're doing things that you want to be doing. Yeah. You know, and do you think like for her job for 30 years, was she happy in that career?
I think there was a lot of instances that which I see now that I'm in an office setting of where she got looked over and like things were changing, but not, you know, technically in her favor. And so I think she was happy for the most part, but it's also like what she knew.
Right. So she tells you she has cancer. Was it breast cancer? Or
yeah. And my grandma had passed from it. So it's definitely something that we had been looking for. Now I, you know, get mammograms super early. And hopefully, I don't know. I'm like, I know there's tests, which I have.
Like the BRCA gene test?
My aunt got it done. But it seems to be the oldest girl currently in these past 2 generations, which I'm the oldest girl.
I'm gonna take you to get that test.
I got biopsied when I got my breast reduction. And so I think all is well. Currently.
Well, that's been a minute. I feel like we should go get another mammogram.
Well, yeah, it's been a year. The healthcare system, let's not even get started
True. But, you know, it's interesting because, like, so many people I know have at 35, which I did feel like it was like 40 before or something. I like are speaking about mammograms and, like, it's really important. So it's just interesting little tangent for us. But, like, go get your mammograms, y'all.
Yeah, check those boobies.
Check them out. It's good to know what's going on, especially with, like, just... I mean, the world changes all the time, like you're saying. It probably takes a long time to get an appointment. Just like everything gives us cancer at this point.
Everything. I bet this water I'm drinking.
There's something in there. The plastic, this can, whatever it is. So anyways, you decided to...
So I decided to go into aesthetics mainly because I wanted to see the world. And I didn't know how to do that. Like I said, I've been raised by a single parent. You know, we didn't have much extra. And I was wanting to like travel. I'm like, I want to get out of here. So I started kind of looking up jobs that you could do that with. And actually, I was with my friend Jamaica and we were looking at stuff on the internet and cruise ships came up.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, how can I like get to work on here and not have to do all the things, maybe just one thing? And then somehow we came across aesthetics. And then there was a program in Evansville. And so I'm like, okay, like I'm going to do it.
So did you ever end up on a cruise ship?
I know. The more I started researching, I'm like, oh no.
You have to be on there like 9 months or something?
Well, yeah. So if your first contract is usually a year. Like they usually don't do less than that, for you, which may have changed. This, mind you, was 12 years ago. And I had never lived away from home. So I'm like, that's asking a lot. I feel like I would break the contract and not talk to people. Yeah. As you know, I'm fairly chatty. Yeah. If there's new people around, like I would be in trouble all the time. Be like, I met these friends on this stop. Like, yeah, just come on the ship until the next stop. I think we get in trouble for the wildest things. And also they work them way too hard. Like the amount of people they have to take a day. By the end of my career, I was taking maybe 4 people a day. Max prior was 6. And I think they just stack them all day long. And I just, don't want to work that hard.
Yeah. Oof, that's
so I was like, I'll just work and make money to go on a cruise. Yeah. But then I started learning more about the ocean, and like 80% of it is undiscovered.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be in the middle of the ocean and Mama Earth gets mad. So all that to say, no, I've never ended up on a cruise ship.
I told her at lunch, I was like, over those breadsticks, I was like, I think you'd like it. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of negatives too, but there's a lot of positives. But anyhow, I love cruises, so it's fine. But I love to sit on the balcony away from all the people and just like look at the water and feel like my problems are really small and this is great.
And I love water. Like I live on the river and like I've gone on a catamaran, I will say, in Italy, which sounds so obnoxious, but that was great. But to be on a big ship, I understand buoyancy, but I also don't. Because why is this on top of the water? And can it stay here, actually?
So maybe let's get a naval course. I don't know the words. But like, yeah, I'm like curious too. Anyways, so where have you traveled to though? Like, have you been able to get around a little bit or?
Yeah, I have been very fortunate to, I think the first time I left the country, I got my passport for a wedding. I was hired for a wedding in Jamaica. And that just kind of just blew my mind open. I'm like, oh my God, like not only am I going, but I'm being hired to be there, which was great. So Jamaica and then a lot of Mexico, Thailand and Italy and Paris. And
wow.
I mean, it's been a while since I've traveled. So
yeah. Has it been mostly through like working opportunities or?
A few of them were work.
You get leisure with time too.
Ish. You learn very quickly, like you're kind of always on the clock when someone hires you to come out of the country with them.
They're like, sure, I'll do your hair, or, makeup, or like, you need a touch up.
And then one time we were doing sunset shoots, like sunset and sunrise.
Wow.
And so my call times were before sunrise. And so like the schedules just get kind of tight. So it's like, yes, I'm here and it's great, but you also don't get like a lot of leeway to do whatever you want. So
how do you find a job like that? Like, where do you just Google?
I wish. I think any job that I've ever gotten is through networking. And so just someone knowing me or that photographer in particular, we'd worked together for years. And so had just built up a relationship and a rapport, which was so funny. I didn't expect to go when she announced that she's getting married and they were going there. And I think like she went and got a trial there and she came back and she was like, are you a bit? I'm like, I could be a bit. I mean, let me check my calendar. But no, yes, I'm coming. I want to go.
So like, I was thinking you networked and found like a photographer who had maybe suggested you for like destination weddings, but you're saying the photographer that you worked with a lot was getting married themselves.
Yes. And then she lives, I think she still lives in Evansville, but we were working together. She hired me for that. And then she also did like an excursion in Italy, in Paris. And I went along for that. So
I love it.
Amazing. I love, connections. Yeah, we started our businesses pretty much kind of around that same time. So it was nice to like grow and get to do so many random things together.
So when you started your esthetician career, like, did you go into any other spaces and work, or did you like start your own space immediately? Like, how did that work?
So I actually worked for a spa maybe about a year before I went on my own. A year, and then I worked at a hair salon actually built on a room for me, which was crazy. And I worked there for a little bit, and it just was hair salon culture is just way different. And I was like, And it was a farmer's market or something that I went to that I met Mary Allen, who is a dear friend after all these years. And she ended up having a vacant space that I think a massage therapist was in prior to. So then I started renting a space from her, and that relationship blossomed. We have a skincare line together still to this day. She's now a city councilwoman.
Oh,
I actually lived with her and her husband, who now I consider my dad because he just does all the dad things for me, for maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years actually. And so that relationship just like evolved. But I started off, thinking like, let me get some experience under my belt. And then I just wanted a different experience for my clients. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this in these spaces.
And then you branched out on your own and got your own studio space where, like, I'm assuming all of this is in Evansville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was downtown in Haney's Corner, which it was a great time to be down at because like hardly anything was down there then. And so I got to be a part of seeing Haney's Corner grow. Like every business that came, like it's vibrant and popping now.
Yeah.
And I lived downtown at the time and to be immersed in the culture to where I could like walk from my apartment to work and like
so nice.
Knew everybody in the corner.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I don't think I told you my brother lives there.
No,
in Evansville.
You never said that.
I don't think, for the amount of times you've said Evansville to me. I think it's because he lived one time in Owensboro and like I keep getting him confused.
Owensboro's like 45 minutes away.
It's also Kentucky versus Evansville is Indiana. Yeah. Like north, east,
I'm not the person to ask for that.
Yeah, it's one highway. It's 64. It's past Santa Claus.
So then it is...
Didn't you go to Santa Claus, Indiana the other day?
I did. My orthodontist has a place there and in Evansville, and they weren't in when I was in Evansville, so then I had to go to Santa Claus the next day. It was a whole thing.
I think for people that aren't from like the Midwest, like
what is Santa Claus?
Santa Claus, Indiana has Holiday World, and every little part of the park is a different holiday.
But also outside of the park, there is Christmas-themed everything.
Everything.
And so Jake is from there.
No way.
And so I've been a couple times, but more like out in the country.
Yeah.
But it's just like such a weird place.
Yeah.
It's weird that people live there.
Right.
Or are from there. Like, how are you from Santa Claus, Indiana?
No, for some reason I can't imagine it either. But it's fun to go.
Yeah. That's how I feel about New Harmony, Indiana. If you've never been.
Never been there.
I never stay when it gets dark because I just think the corn people are going to come out.
There's too much cornfields.
Yeah, and I'm like, nobody is from here. It's just a place to have weddings. But I guess some people do live there.
I mean, somebody lives most places. Like you're saying.
I mean, I guess you have to live there to work there so
Gotta
much.
Gotta go to the local Olive Garden. And
there's no Olive Garden there. I don't think there's any franchises
not
there.
Big enough.
Maybe there's a Subway.
Well, yeah, there's got to be a Subway. So I drive across the country with my mom.
Like, why?
I don't know. And
I did that once with almost a complete stranger. Like I knew
Really?
her. I met her like once and she put on Facebook that she needed to be in LA by this day for something. And I was like, oh, like I need to be in LA at that time too. I had already bought plane tickets. So I was like, a road trip sounds so much fun. The amount of times I could have been murdered.
I was just thinking like, oh my gosh.
But it was just like vibes. This feels like good vibes.
Allowing,
and it was
like you said.
Yeah, we stopped in New Mexico and Lincoln, Nebraska. And and she drove most of the way. It was great. And then nice. I always fly Southwest. Not always because they don't do international, but domestically I prefer Southwest. So I moved my flight to see my friend in Seattle to fly out of there. So it all worked out.
Yeah.
I'm alive to tell the story.
I'm very happy because it could have gone every way, but I just listened to a lot of true crime. So
I could never. My brain is too fragile for that.
It makes me feel safe for some reason.
What?
Like I just feel like I know. Like
how someone can kill you?
Yeah. Like my heart, or not my heart.
I feel like this warranted a button of some sort.
Oh, I forgot, you guys. I have so many buttons. They've been experiencing my buttons. That sounds weird. True crime. That's my favorite one.
True crime. Listen, that was crazy.
What even was that? That's what you sound like on a true crime documentary.
That's what I was going to say. That felt on brand.
I drove across the country to LA.
I on a plane at LAX with a dream and a cardigan.
Listen, I had to go to LA too for no other reason than I wanted to. And I went to a fabric shop when I had the new black, and like I wanted to go find.
Did this have like special fabric?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, LA has a garment district.
That sounds fun.
There's not that many of them in the country. I mean, there's one in New York. I'd been to that one and I wanted to go to LA. But I also, like the year before that, I had gone to Orlando for a month and just took the month to it was in 2021. So I just like mostly slept most of the time and tried to like process 2020 by myself without like, I had pets at the time, and I was in a great relationship.
What happened to them?
They passed. Unfortunately.
So you had pets at the time.
Well, I just wanted to go somewhere where I wasn't concerned about literally anything other than myself.
Yeah.
And that was just how I was going to like deal with, being an entrepreneur during that time was really stressful and just all of that. So at that time I had told myself like, okay, well, maybe next year I'll go somewhere else. So I decided to go out to LA, and my family had like already planned some kind of cruise outside, like that left from LA. So I was like, oh, well, Mom, you're already going. Like, why don't you just drive with me so that I don't like die in the middle of nowhere. And it was a really cool drive. So we stopped in Arizona as well. I think it was Santa Fe.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
Oh, no. I meant
New Mexico.
Yeah.
We stopped in Corrales. It was beautiful.
Cool. Everywhere out there in the West.
And we got like a hippie. We stayed in this Airbnb with this hippie couple.
Yeah.
And it was the best because we talked about essential, like just all the woo-woo stuff. And I was like, I think they even made us breakfast.
Really?
Yeah.
You're like, I was a Jehovah's Witness and now I'm...
I tend to leave that out on most things. It very seldom gets brought up at this point, but some things trigger me to be like, oh yeah. LA was probably prior to, I'd say like my first big trip, not the ones outside of the country, but inside, I was actually burnt out.
Yeah.
It maybe had been like 3 or 5 years in and I hadn't taken any breaks. And I took a month off.
Yeah, see?
To go see my friend in Seattle. I can't remember where else I went, but Seattle was the focus. And I just wanted to see him and he was so happy. And I was just like, I love this so much. And I came back like rejuvenated because I had also started a magazine by that time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started and ran a whole magazine for 4 years.
Wow.
And I had an incredible, I would say, team. I didn't hire any employees, but the work we did was about 4 contractors. In comparison to these companies that have 20 people, I'm still very proud of the work that we accomplished. And our whole thing was, bringing community together. So every quarter we'd have a launch party. And that was the only time that you could get the printed version is if you came to the launch party.
Yeah. Wait, what was it called again?
Love It EVV. I wish I wouldn't have picked such Evansville-focused names for things.
Yeah. I feel like I remember hearing about this and you said quarterly, right? Yeah. Because I was like, yeah, you seem to me like you'd kill it at a magazine.
I did enjoy it there, but towards the end, it was like, I hated always, like with the holistic facials and just self-care, it's very much about being present.
Right.
And with the magazine, it was so much about planning for the future, like always thinking a quarter ahead minimum. And so those just kept kind of clashing because then I just couldn't like sit and ground and be in the moment because it's like, oh, we need to take pictures of freaking summer stuff and it's winter. It just started to get like incongruent.
So you're in your own space in Evansville. You got those magazines.
Oh, and prior to that, I started a Tuesday Talks with Kana, which I just think of some of these names. Sometimes I'm like, I was so audacious, like I really did not care. I just wanted to do things and I did them.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss being so out there.
Yeah.
I feel way more reserved. But Tuesday Talks with Kana, I just wanted women to gather and like, I just wanted to create spaces for connection, like real connection, because I didn't have that. Even when I was growing up, it was like, we're in the church every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, we were out in fill service, Sunday, like life revolved around church, but it didn't feel like community.
Got it.
And so I think I really craved that when I got older.
I think when I like learn about somebody and like, I don't know, like I said to you before we started recording, I was like, man, Megan, Jordan, and I just always talked about you and like how your space and all this stuff. And I think she's the one who told me about the magazine or something because I don't believe I heard it directly from you before. But like there was just something about where she was just like, Kana's so cool. And I just always had the energy around you being so positive. And I think when I just saw you, like sometimes you can just see somebody or how they interact with something or whatever. And I think probably even since like when we did start to know each other, when you were at the New Black for like Valentine's Day and stuff, like just, I think I can just see a heart really fast. Like I can see like genuine people and what I mean by that is people looking for connection. Mm-hmm. So in the same way that I want to be very genuine and like I want to create a true genuine connection, that's what I mean. And I think my heart has always been like, Kana's one. She's there.
I think I am definitely a pendulum swinger to where I can be very open and then something happens to where I close. And so it's been a constant work to be open, but have some discernment and, you know, still leave everything open for connection, but be okay if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, it's hard for me when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, well, what was today even for?
And then I don't want to try to create connection just to be liked or to know a person. And I think that very much can happen when you're always open to connection. Then it's like, trying to manage all these people and all the things. So it's kind of like learning to pull back and like, again, allowing the connection if it happens and allowing if it doesn't happen.
I heard some quote recently that was like, you don't get to choose, and it's not exactly what we're talking about, but it's close, is like, you don't get to choose joy. You get to see joy and allow yourself to experience it. Mm-hmm. Like you get to allow yourself into these situations that are positive and I might have really fucked up that quote, but the concept around it.
You made a new one.
Yeah, there you go. Woo. Everything's quotable on on this podcast. But it's like, we don't always get to pick when something is around us, but we get to pick if we engage with it in a way that, you know, can affect us positively or negatively.
Yeah.
And it's like, all we can really do is control like how we handle something or react to something or respond or manage it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'll find myself where I'm like, I really put myself out there and I was like looking for this connection. And it was because I was like searching so hard for it that it didn't happen. So it's like that forced, you know, I was like forcing things. Mm-hmm. And if you can be like, okay, well, I'm going to be ready for if it comes and then allow it when it does, like feels so good.
Yeah.
So when you had your business and you kind of started thinking like, I want to scale because everybody loves to tell you when you have a business,
scale, franchise, do more,
do everything. Oh my God. And then you end up being like, okay, but what about like when I enjoyed just having my business be me and my clients and like, it's so nice sometimes. And I think people always want something more than that, but aren't either realizing how much different it really is than being a solopreneur.
On the back end.
Or like, just really ready for it timing wise, money wise, any of that. And it's hard because everything can turn on a dime, as like we said. Like, I mean, this shit's crazy out here. Like, what are we going to do? So it's kind of interesting to like think of all those times, you know, and when I had the New Black, I felt that way. Like I had to double every year and I had, you know, so many employees at one time and we were in the mall. So we were open every single day. And I was just like, I am so depressed. This is not what I got into this for. And I know you have some like similar vibes around that. So I'm kind of wondering if you'll share that with our listeners, our girlies.
I actually never sought to expand. I was pretty happy in my situation. I left for about a year to come here to Louisville. 7 years?
I know. I was trying to figure it out.
7 years ago.
Pre-pandemic. That's all I can remember.
I loved my little space because I could come and go as I pleased. I didn't need to like hurt myself to make money to cover the rent or any of that. But there was a person who kept over the years like contacting me to see if I was taking on another person. And the last time that happened, I had started dating. I'm like, I already said Jake's name. I'm like, I'm like, do I keep his name a secret? He doesn't care. I started dating Jake and I was just like very happy and open. And I'm like, well, I've let this person, you know, in my life. Maybe it's time to like allow for expansion, for more. So they came on as kind of like a contractor to where they were offering services in my space. And I was the clients that I couldn't get in because by this time I've had a pretty steady book. I would offset to them.
And that was in Louisville?
In Evansville.
In Evansville, got it.
I went back to Evansville after about a year here because I just kept thinking like, oh my God. Yeah, to that point where I was exhausted trying to do both because my brides typically book a year or more out. So even though I had left, I still had bridal contracts. So I would work here, leave usually Wednesday or Thursday to go to Evansville to service clients until I had that wedding. And then after the wedding on Saturday, I would turn around and come to Louisville.
Got it.
So probably about schedule. 3 months of that. Yeah. At first I was like, this is great. Like I get to bounce around and do all this stuff. But by the 3rd or 4th month, I was like, this is too much. And so I had to like have a real conversation of like, is this feasible? And then, you know, kind of have the download of you either have to close and move completely or you need to go back and like finish what you started. So I decided to finish what I started and I went back to like, you know, full time and all of that. And it was good, you know, for a while. Adding that person definitely made me tighten up my own processes for things.
Right, it does.
Because then you're looking at everything as if like, oh, I need to pass this information on. Like, what's the best way to do that? Even for myself, like what's my brand voice or all these things that you've been doing that you may not have on paper already. And then it's like, okay, I need to systemize that. So for that reason, it was really great. Of course, more people being served. I was specifically plant-based, so they also had to be in the space. So more people getting plant-based services made me very happy. And then, that bug of like, okay, we have one person. And the room was really set up for one person. So she was working on the days that I didn't work. And then it's like, okay, well, now it's time to expand so that, you know, everybody has a room. And so I did finally find another place, but that landlord, oh my God. Oh my God, I had so many issues with her. I loved that space. I lived upstairs in that space for a little bit. It was so hectic because I also moved in the week I was leaving for Italy. And so it was just so much.
It's a lot,
And my previous landlord was amazing. He was great. We're still friends to this day. But I have like mild trauma from that. And I had looked at it several times, but I did not realize a dog place was next door until like I got in there and I'm like, oh my God, these dogs are barking like
all the time.
Yeah. I mean, nothing some sound machines and stuff can't fix, but there's just those little things where it's just like, but we moved into that space. That was all gravy and fine. We added another person, several other people. I had contractors throughout that would like rent the space for short stints of time. And then we added another full-time person in 2020. And so that was all
beginning of 2020.
I wanted, or maybe it was after we could open up again.
Right.
And I didn't get any money during COVID. I don't know how everybody else did.
Same.
But we were still fine. We were still expanding.
Yeah.
And then...
entrepreneurs were not like given the $600 a week.
Oh my God. I'm still ate up about that. I'm
I know,
like,
right?
how's everybody?
It's like rude.
Carrie's like, I'm shopping online. I'm like, with what money? But we pivoted. I was starting to sell products and having pickups.
Sorry, my brain.
Pivot.
But it's important.
And then we expanded even more and everybody was so excited. I went from, I think we had 900 square feet in that last space up. And then we moved into 3,000 square feet.
Oh, that's a big jump. Yeah.
A big jump that mathematically I did not plan for. And so it's kind of like when you have this seed that you've planted and it's grown and you're watching it be beautiful. And then it grows too massive and then there's weeds and that's kind of what it feels like. So externally, all of this looks great to everyone. They're like, oh my gosh, the expansion, more people, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, on the back end, it's like, how am I going to sustain this? And sustaining came from me working more hours, which doesn't make for a happy me. I'm just not made for working a lot. I mean, I don't think anybody's made for like working, but I just
human
don't have
nature.
I don't have the fortitude for it. I'm a 3-day a week mentally. Like I can only be there 3 days a week.
Yeah. I'm more like a couple hours every day. Yeah. But like it's like a couple hours and I just push myself the rest of the time.
That's what I'm
just
saying.
like, I don't want to always be in that mode.
I don't. And so, and not even just like the modes with my clients. It's like now I have all this paperwork and like keeping up with if something's wrong, then I have to, you know, get whatever they're saying and get it to the landlord. And there was just like so many other things that came with it. And I did not charge enough. And I'm like the queen of telling other entrepreneurs to charge more. I am like, what? Charge more. But for whatever reason, I was like, I just want this to be a space for everybody. So I was trying to make pricing, more inclusive. But then, of course, on the back end, that was draining me. And so, expansion.
And that's so frustrating because it comes from such a positive place.
Yeah, it's like, I just want everybody to be here and like...
Well, and when people do see you doing well, they expect you to pay it forward as well. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But like, are you telling all the dudes this too? Because like, I feel like it's really been put upon
women to take care of everyone.
To care. Yeah. To tend to and to make space. And like, as much as like, I think that it can feel great to do that. And it can even be in our nature to do that. Like I want to do that all the time. It isn't treated the same, I think, a lot. And it's almost expected to a point of, like martyr.
Yeah. It's like, I wish I would have thought through more. Again, it grew past me. And so I didn't have the foresight to say, like, is this what I really want?
Right.
Like, am I doing this because it looks good on paper or because this was my mission? And, my mission was to create space for women. And it didn't have to manifest as a collective. It could have just stayed small, but because I was so heavily influenced by the people around me and wanting to help more and not knowing that I needed to do that from a place where I was okay first, definitely... Ugh.
I know. I'm like, I'm listening. I'm just like, every few years, I'm like.
And so I think it's okay to be
did it again.
Selfish. And I know that word can be triggering for some people, but I think of it in a way where it's like the moments that I've been selfish in my career or in my personal life have greatly benefited the people who are around me. Because when I'm doing things that are in alignment for me, I'm meeting the people I need to meet. I'm doing the things I need to do. When I'm not in alignment, it's just a shit show.
Yeah. Like, I feel like when you think of it like this garden, like in order to keep it beautiful and growing, but at like a manageable pace. Go. Yeah, you gotta like get it out, get the weeds out, like you were saying. And I mean, we so often say like fill your own cup first or put on your own oxygen mask or whatever. And I still struggle with that like over and over. And it's just, it feels very...
we don't see enough people actually doing it. So it's like, we'll say it and people are like, okay, I'm going to go get a pedicure. I'm going to go get a spa treatment per se, which keep getting your spa treatments.
It's like, says the esthetician. Well, previous. Yeah.
Those things are necessary, but it's not like, go look at your financial statement, your profit and loss, and then tell me this is a good idea.
Right, the whole self-care of it.
You freaking can't. And so I think, self-care or filling your cup or putting your oxygen mask on first isn't being portrayed in a way that's like, actually, sometimes that's looking at your numbers and saying, does this make actual sense?
Right, or asking for help. Or
yeah, I was so bad about that.
It's so hard. Yeah. It's very first daughter of us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only daughter too.
I feel like I'm generally good about it, but there was just something when it came to business specifically that I just couldn't.
Well, and it's interesting because you're right. Like, I think of you as the person that is saying that all the time and is about that. And I am also the person that is saying that all the time and talking to people, but it's not often that people say it to me. Yeah. And I'm like, it's either that I will be priced way too high or way too low for someone. And I'm just like, okay, well, I have to find my people that it's the perfect price for or whatever. Yeah. And if I don't have like enough coming in, like then I can't do everything that I want to do for the community and can't hold the space. And, there's stuff that you'll start that, like you're saying, these expansions and moving into these spaces like that, you're like, this is absolutely the right move, like no doubt. And then like 5 minutes later, 3
Which we did talk about
later.
That a little bit, where learning my human design.
Oh, yeah.
Got very into human design, I think, around COVID. And knowing that I have an emotional authority, learning that and learning that I'm also a manifesting generator was such a big thing for me. It's like, people are always niche it down or like, I think now people are okay more so with
passionate.
Yes, now
like I know everyone is.
But before it was like you need to pick one thing and just be really great at it. But it was like, as you can see, it's like the magazine, and I, did several other things. It's like, I need to stop doing other things and focus on this one thing. But I'm learning that I'm a manifesting generator. It's like my energy is meant to do a lot of different things, or I do need to sit and wait until I feel neutral about this decision before I make it. My emotional authority, those things really help. You know, when I keep it top of mind to do. Because sometimes I'm just like, F it. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
And then it's like, the 5 minutes later, it's like, oh, I don't actually want to do that.
I know. I need to like set a clock when somebody tells me like a new idea before I say anything.
And we need to do that. We need to start being like, okay, this sounds amazing. I will get back to you next week about it.
Yeah, I'm going to just adopt that exact phrase.
Yeah.
Great. Let's chat next week when I've had some time to think through it.
Because I'm such a I want to get this done yesterday. And then let them come back to you. Yeah.
Because sometimes you could put so much energy into it and then it's that whole like, you know, the letdown or whatever. And you're like, well, I thought we were on the same page with it. But I do think mine was manifesting generator as well. I need to like look back at it because I was looking at it like during COVID. So just been a minute. But like to go back to that, and like, we were talking about this over the breadstick. It was like, we got to really chill because that's where I keep getting myself personally. I'm like, okay, I'm getting myself in trouble because I said yes to things that then I regret because I didn't have enough time to think through them, or I agreed to something just when I wasn't really ready or didn't get to check my schedule or whatever, and didn't think about my cycle. You know, at the same time, I'm like,
because anything happening that week, I don't want to be a part of, actually.
Yeah, I'm just like, I have like 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks off. And the things I say yes to on the weeks on, I'm dumb on the weeks off. I'm like, dude, I just want to sit and play Sims and like...
Yeah. And like learning, I will say like my last relationship really taught me about downtime. Because prior to, I would, you know, work on clients, go home, work on my website, and then the next new idea, or I would be out networking, like everything surrounded business. And then when I got with him, it was just like, oh, I can like have dinner and sit and watch TV show. Right. Maybe even go to bed today because who's answering emails right now? Like I could just do it tomorrow, which maybe I've gone a little too carried away with that at this point. But
yeah, it's all harmony. How do we find the flow of it?
Exactly. And it's just
like, I like to send invoices when I'm on my period because I'm like, I am sending out this money. I did this work. Like, I don't feel the emotional attachment to the like business side, like as much as I do when I'm like in the on stage, because I'm so overly energetic and positive in that time. I'm like, oh shit, like, oh, I love them. I don't want
you don't need this invoice.
And then when I get on my period, I'm just like, like grumpy. And it's just send it out that way or whatever. So I even like been trying to like think through that a little bit more and try to see like what are the weeks I need to be taking like the meetings versus when do I send out the information.
To be good about that. And when I had my own business, it was so much easier to say like, these are the days I'm not working, because again, it's like that's quote unquote selfish aspect, but you don't want me when I'm grumpy.
Yeah.
You know, paid $100 to be here and you don't want me to show up grumpy.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just going to take the day off. Like
you just put like an eye mask on them, then be like, and this is your soothing eye mask. And then you're like, so I like scrubbing their face extra hard.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think my spaces have always been very like energetic. And that's like the one thing I hear when people walk in or when they leave. It's just like, just feels so good in here.
Yeah, the way it feels.
And it's like, I'm very intentional about my energy and my spa spaces. And so keeping that in mind, it's like, I don't want to come here when I'm not feeling optimal if I can avoid it.
Right. And of course, sometimes you can't, but then of course there's times when you can.
Yeah.
And like, I have this like gratitude journal I like work through a lot, and I'm like, man, flexibility is such a high priority for me. I mean, just being diabetic as well, like my energy being consistent is ever changing, and it's so difficult. So like she was even, Kana was watching me eat before that. I was like, I'm not going to make it through if I
actually missed most of it. I just saw you be like, I said no tomatoes, and there's a tomato.
Why did they put tomatoes on?
I didn't used to like them. I will say the older I get.
Tomato. It's just not raw.
That's gross. A raw tomato is much better than a cooked tomato.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have this fight later. So what happened with, we've been saying former esthetician, former business owner. Tell us about that. Because, I mean, I've closed 4 businesses as well. Like,
which is so crazy.
You just move on from stuff, you know? Like, but how are you? Like, how did that all happen?
I think I got a breast reduction. And that kind of, people don't talk about the spiritual aspect of surgeries, but it kind of just like cracked me open to where it was just like, okay, I could have died during this, which sounds dramatic, but also the things they have you fill out and what they're saying to you before you get surgery is just like, wow, like
it's a lot.
I wish you would have said this like a week ago because I maybe wouldn't have done it, but now I'm here. So I had the surgery and, I have amazing friends and Jake helped take care of me while I was recouping, but just still knowing that so many things in my business weren't the way that I wanted them to be was really hard to come to terms with. It's like, here's what I started with and here's what I have now. And it's like, how do I get back to feeling joy? I mean, I created the space for myself kind of and for my clients. And now it's for everybody else and everybody's doing what they want inside of something I created. So once I got kind of to that stage, it was like, okay, we're not on the same page anymore. And here's the page I want to be on. And so the people in the space at that time didn't want to be on the new page, which is totally fine because I had come to peace with, I don't want to keep martyring myself or like keep going in a direction that I know is not the direction that I want to go.
Yeah.
So that was all kosher, not quite. But during that time, I was trying to figure out, okay, these people are leaving. What am I going to do this all over again? And I just basically opted not to do it all over again. And I needed a break. My engagement at that time was ending as well. And so it was just like a bunch of heartache at one time. And it's been a year now. And so I still feel like it was the best. I honestly wish I would have pivoted. It's like, pivot. Or closed prior to that because the math was not mathing.
For a while. It takes a while to really come to that realization sometimes because you just have so much hope.
Hopeful, yeah. And it's like...
And it's done it before, so why wouldn't it pop right back,
And so I just, got to the point where it's like, I had a funeral for the business.
Wow.
Yeah, my friends.
I kind of love that.
It was,
because you have to grieve everything. Like, you really don't think of it like friendships. You have to grieve situations. Like, I don't know, like, it's interesting. Because it doesn't have to be sad for a long time, but you do have to, like, acknowledge
that it's happening. And that was the thing. It was kind of like I tried to put the blinders on for a while. And it's like,
it's a major change.
Maybe this will resolve itself. And it did not. And so, I had the funeral. I worked for a life coach for, 10 years she's one of my clients. I did her makeup. And she had a funeral for excuses during one of she had like a series. And so I was like, I should do this for the beauty room. And it was great. It's what I needed. I just had a great night with friends. We all dressed in black. My best friend gave a eulogy for the business. That was really cute. I should ask her to send that to me so I can frame it.
I love that.
And it was very neat. It was bittersweet, but it was like we were closing the space and I just wanted to have some closure there.
Yeah.
Because even in each space that I move into, I do like a little opening ceremony where I invite my clients and friends, and we have a tarot reader, and she goes and stages the space.
I was gonna say, gets the energy right.
And so I'm like, how fitting. During the period of knowing I was probably going to close, I had already sent letters and said, okay, you guys aren't signing 90 days, which is very generous.
So generous.
I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. So I start visiting Louisville again because it's always been my like place to get away. And I think I met Monica like on Instagram, and she has a spiritual shop called the Bodhi Tree out in Norton Commons, and went for a visit. And she's like, you can pop up here and do facials anytime you want.
Oh, that's nice.
I know. I was like, great. So we did a pop-up even before I moved, which was fun. And kind of was like, by the time we closed, I'm like, I guess I'm just going to go live in Louisville. I ended up finding a place in Jeff, which I really love. I saw the picture online and it's on the river, and I was like, I'm gonna go heal here. And even sometimes I think about, I'm like, this is so crazy that like I saw that and I was like, I want it to be mine, and now I'm there. So
the water can be so healing.
It
obviously.
is,
I even take a different way to work so that I can view the river, the same river, because I live in the same town as you, right across the river from Louisville. But like, anytime it's like sunny, I go over this little hill and it just comes down and all like the water glistens.
Yes.
And gives me these little glimmers of just joy.
I love it. I walk that bridge so much. Like it's given me so much solace. But once I got here, I cried for, I don't know, a month or two. I still cry sometimes, but it was a lot to just face reality, you know, because you have in your head all these dreams and these visions of what you think life is going to be like, that, you know, forcing. And then when it doesn't happen, you're just like, what do I do now? Yeah. And I had planned my life out for like 10 years and I had just gotten to the mark where it's like, oh, everything on my vision board has come true. Like I have all these things that I wanted on paper. But I think what we forget is that the person that gets to that point is a different person. And so some of the things that I thought I wanted, you know, I didn't want anymore. And it was hard to like be honest with myself and say, I don't want that.
You're right. That's the hardest part, is like, it comes along with so much stuff. You know, it comes along with things and feelings and thoughts and judgments about yourself. And I mean, for me in therapy, that's what I'm learning, is like to remove the judgment of myself in any situation, basically. But yeah, you're saying, so your engagement had ended and you moved here, your business had closed. What did you do next? Did you keep doing the... She's shaking her head.
I took a
little
break.
bit of everything, a little bit of nothing.
Yeah, my friends came down.
I'm like really proud of you for taking that. Like that really is like, I think it should be self most, you know, like I think selfish. I'm like ish a little bit sometimes. And I mean, that's difficult because it's difficult in practice for me. But like at the end of the day, like, yeah, you have to go to bed with yourself. And like, what are the thoughts? Did you make yourself proud today? Do you feel good about these things? And every night when you kind of go to bed, oh shit, like I don't today. Like it adds up.
It does.
I'm like, you're the only one that lives your whole life. Like,
yeah. And I mean, I think when you're an entrepreneur, you get so much feedback from your environment around you. And sometimes it's necessary for you to continue to take that feedback. So it's like, if my clients say, oh, we want more massage during our facial, or like, you know, that feedback, you're like, okay, let me pivot to make sure they're taken care of. But then that feeds into someone, you know, people being like, oh, you should have a bigger space. You should have more people. You should be growing. And that can seep into like what your vision is for yourself. And like you said, like you are the only person that is going to bed or paying those bills or, you know. Yeah,
you're
like,
the only one who can see that bank account.
You're the only one. And so getting comfortable with not performing is what, like during that time of rest, it was like, okay, what went wrong here? And it's like, you know, the last 5 years of my life felt just very performative. It's like, this is what people are expecting me to do. And so like, let me not disappoint. Let me do it. I mean, even, you know, not to say I won't ever get married, but I had never considered marriage before my last partner. And it's just like, well, now my friends are getting married and having kids, and like, I probably should, you know?
And if you start telling yourself, I should, it's like, you also shouldn't listen. You should not listen.
And so, yeah, just bringing it back to like, you got to be honest with yourself. And do I want this because other people want it for me? Or do I actually want this for myself?
When she said that to me over breadsticks, I was like, do I really?
Have breadsticks.
I know, we should have recreated the vibes, but they were so perfect that day. But I just feel like, when you said like, do you really want this for yourself? And I was like, some of it. Well, you know, and I've had to like rein it in a lot recently. Like I'm going through a lot of changes and trying to make some of these decisions because in my season of yes, I said yes. And I started a lot of things and I got to chill out because it just sucks to like reality's a thing.
Yeah. When you're such a passionate person and multi-passionate, it's very easy to like, like the ideas are flowing and people are wanting to collaborate and do all the things. But reeling it into that emotional authority. And it's like, I need to get time to process, like, I want to feel neutral. I don't want to be too excited or feel not good about it. I just want to be neutral in my yes or no.
And it's interesting because when I was trying to get to neutral 10 years ago, I was just numb. Like if I didn't want to feel a negative thought, I couldn't feel a positive thought. So I sit in my joy a lot deeper than I sit in my grief.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I had to manage myself and like learn how to take it in like fully. Like my heart is like just sitting here and having this podcast and chatting with you and like having this connection and this conversation and all the things that I love. I'm just like, ooh, like every time that I like schedule a podcast, I'm happy. Every time I talk to my friends, I'm so happy.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I accidentally burp on the podcast, like, sorry, Kuzio, you're my man. We got this. You know, you'll fix it for me. But it's like, I just don't feel any natural like objection to doing some of the things that I do. Exactly. And that's where I was like, I got to just keep doing the things that I feel zero objection around.
Yeah.
And zero like pull, you know, and don't drain me. Like it doesn't drain me to leave this and be like, okay. Whereas like, going to a networking event with tons of people, I go home and I'm like,
I don't think people realize how much I have to prepare for those because I do come off extroverted and
remember at the last one we were at, everybody was like, I'm an introvert and this is scary. Like when they're introducing themselves, I was like, should we just have Introverts Anonymous?
Yeah, I am naturally an introvert, but when I first was starting my business, I'm like, I need clients. And so I would force myself to go out alone. I remember the first thing I did was a concert to see, gosh, what's that? There's a band of men who sing a cappella or like, I think it's an Indiana thing.
Oh, no.
They go to Bloomington. Maybe they're out of Bloomington.
It's another round.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I lived in Bloomington for a little bit. And it's a cappella group that like started in college.
Yeah, I went to see them.
And there's like another one that's like not in the college, but like still does it.
Yeah, they came to Evansville and...
I mean, they're great.
I went, it was amazing. I went by myself. I sat next to a couple and another person. The couple ended up like chit-chatting with me the whole time, but it was like one of those things where I'm like, I have to start going to things alone. So like I talk to people other than my friends so that I can build my network.
Yeah.
So I totally get being introverted and not wanting to, but that's one of the things you have to. But there's so many instances like the Strong Women, Strong Coffee to where it's just a group that makes you feel so good, where it's like all the connections there just feel so genuine and people's heart chakras are just all the way open. And you're like, yes. But typically it takes me, I always know when I'm doing too much, I'll change my outfit like 3 times before I go.
Oh, right.
Then I'll sit in the car for a little bit. And then it's like I have a mild panic attack before I go to most things. And then I get there and then I'm fine.
But because a lot of them aren't like Strong Women, Strong Coffee, where they're not all heart. Yeah. You know, and like for people that
going to a lot of chamber events and it can get
more like corporate-y and government-y.
I have my nose ringing and I cover my belly now for work, but I was very much a crop top girl.
Yeah. I got a text actually yesterday from someone who works in banking, and I hope to have her on the podcast someday, but she texted me and she said, you're the reason like I dress the way I want to now at work. Like I used to do it outside of work, but I didn't feel comfortable at work. And I was like,
I love that.
Every time I saw her, I was like, wow, you look so cute. She's like, oh, I can't wear this to the office or whatever. I'm like, why not? You look great. And
well, my stuff, as you can see, like this is see-through, so it's just a little risque for the workplace. But I did buy, office girly clothes.
I was going to say, so you went from that entrepreneurial girly to office girly, and
yes,
and I think for a time of rest and recovery in a way, recharge, like that discovery. I meant of like discovery of yourself. It's like kind of nicely having someone else tell you what to do for a little bit.
Well, and that's kind of like
it helps,
why I went into it, because everybody, and I've gotten offers, even I'll be out chit-chatting and they'll be like, what did you do? Da-da-da. Oh, there's a room for rent here. And it's like, I'm just not ready to do that. And I'm still getting over, I feel pretty close to it, but like the shame of closing, it's almost like people never encourage you to stop.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you have to keep going.
Keep going.
For everything. Even if you're not happy, even if it's draining you even if it's bankrupting you, which closing a business, if you did not know.
Hold on, I gotta. Wait, it's actually.
Is so expensive. And so it's like, I needed to stop. And sometimes stopping is the best thing you can do in order to start again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still kind of in stop phase, so I took on some social media accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about all I did during my break of working so that I could pay my rent. But it was bare bones, honey. But I needed it. I needed a break. And so even now, I need a mental break where everything is not my responsibility.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people don't realize, like, yes, there's freedom and fun, and you can do things you want to do when you have your own business, but you are also responsible for every single thing. So you don't really get a day off ever. Mm-hmm. It's like you can leave, but what if your business catches on fire? Like, you're still the person that has to deal with it. Mm-hmm. If my job is on fire right now, I hope no one's in the building, but I also, it's not something I have to worry about.
Right. You don't have to do the recovery of it.
I'd be sad. I have a pothos starter in there, but other than that, it's not my effing problem. And
I'll give you some of my clippings if you ever need it.
So, brain break, which obviously not every job is like that.
Of course.
But I obviously picked a job that there was. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of a personality hire, and I get to go be cute and meet people and tell them all the great things about the area and why they should be a member of the organization I'm with.
Hi, we're awesome.
Yeah.
Join us. Oh, wait, I should have used my robot voice. I was just trying.
Oh, yeah, that would have been.
Where's my... join us. I don't know, you guys. But I forgot that I had sound effects, even though I showed them off.
All the buttons, so many of them.
I think it's because we've been talking through this, and it's even today I was like, I need Adrienne to look at this photo from a photo shoot we were doing earlier. I was like, is it good? My brain hurts, and it's to that place of not sleeping or making, I'm just making a lot of decisions and having a lot of, I have just as many positive conversations as I have what would be seen as negative ones. But really standing up for myself and picking this business but also picking myself and to stop the bleeding sometimes. Thank you. You have to, the thing that people respect about me is that I will make the decision, but it does take me a long time to fully admit it, or I have that hope and I have to hold on to that for so long. But, retail has been down this year. It's been difficult, and I've been finding money different places, and that's great. But there's been a lot of difficult conversations about, with my landlords that I've had to have, and they've been gracious and we figured it out past that. Or with my husband, what are we going to do with this? Our pipe burst at our house, and it was it started as a $1,400 fix, and then it was $6,000, and then it was kept going up from there, and now we have to get restorative services done. So when things happen to your home and that safe space that you were well, every time I leave, I'm in this little cozy space, and then those get disrupted, you really do have to, I have to protect those things, and my values, lie within, of course, my business that I've created and all of that, and all of the people that I love here and all the people I interact with. But at the end of the day, if I don't have a home, my shelter has literally almost crumbled in the last week. And I had to have conversations where that money that we planned to put into the business now has to be put into literal floorboards and water,
and I
basics.
Think a part of that also through my journey with the last leg of my business is and maybe it sounds I don't know. There
no judgment with it.
Yeah, all that around it. But it's this is mine.
Right.
And what I do with it
is mine.
At the end of the day is my decision. And I think so much of not just outside people, but even sometimes people you're working with, it's want ownership. And it's yes, I want you to buy in and to be a part. But at the end of the day, I've made this thing and now I need to make these decisions for it. And I don't know, it sucks to suck.
It sucks. Everything's hard. You just pick your hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do any job. It's hard to do, it's hard to feel stable anywhere. Things can really change on the dime, and you have to allow it when it comes.
Yeah.
I think that allowing word really hit me.
I when I heard it, I was allow. Okay.
I don't know, because sometimes you hear buzzwords so much. It's receiving and receiving.
Yeah. I even hate saying alignment now. But.
I know, but it's because language changes too. And you just, it's hearing your favorite song. You love it, it's on the radio, but then you've heard it 40,000 times. You're I still think this matters, but this word got me to this new word. Like we've almost evolved. So it's like, if I can receive things, but then I don't allow myself to just be open to things, then it's a different concept. And I just really appreciated you sharing that with us. Yay.
Happy to do so.
Well, I always love to tell everybody, like, we're all about putting money in the wallets of women. So would you like anyone to give you a follow? I know you're in your rest area. Area.
Oh, both. I'm in a new area and I'm resting.
Yeah. So if you'd like to have the vibes out there, you're more than welcome to share them. But that's like what I like to say is like, how do we put money into your wallet?
You can just cash out me. But yeah, you can follow. I mean, the pages are still up. I still do makeup occasionally. Like I have one in August.
I was going to say, I feel like
I will do it for some special people.
Would love you to do makeup for things.
So yeah, the Beauty Room, EVV on Instagram is still up. Also, according to Kana, is completely fine. I do a lot of things on there.
It's more your personal, like Instagram.
I do some contract work for the tourism board in Indiana. So lots of stuff on there for that. Also, I love all the places in Louisville. So I'm usually posting.
She's out on the town.
But sometimes what people don't realize, I'm a daytime girly. So I will do anything up until about 7 to 9 o'clock on a weekday is typically where I would like to be at if I have to be out. And then on the weekends, I don't want to be outside past 6 o'clock. Yeah. And that's if I've been out all day brunching. So I like to be outside, but not like late.
Yeah. At like 9, I'm like in bed.
Oh yeah. Someone asked me to do something. It was like a comedy show or whatever. The doors open at 10 o'clock. I said, I don't think that I can commit to that.
No, it's because we in our 35s.
Yeah. 35. Yeah. Birthday's coming up.
Yay. So this is like, that kind of halfway between.
I know. Oh, gosh.
I love 35-year-olds.
That's oddly specific. But...
Well, I love 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
30s. Because, I mean, obviously, you just have a lot of references with them and you've gone through a lot of similar experiences, but it's really fun. Well, thank you so much, Kana, for coming and vibing with me and just talking through like all these things. Like, I think it's important for people to know the different stories of women and their stories of their money journeys and everything in between. So, and I just really appreciate
you for having me.
Yeah, I just appreciate this connection with you. So thanks.
No problem.
What was that? Have you seen that one TikTok that's like the feminine urge to text your bestie, like how much fun you had hanging out with them, like right after you leave?
No, but I mean, I feel like maybe I've seen similar things, but not that specific one.
Because you texted me right after, not right after, but that evening. And I like showed my husband, I was like, my friend texted me and she had fun with me today. And he was like, that's cool. I was like, yeah, just because I just love when things get out of like the work phase, you know, it's so nice. So that's how I feel. So watch out. I'm going to text you later.
Oh, okay.
Thanks so much for the connection today.
Yeah, you can text me first this time.
Okay. I'll leave the ball in my court.
All right, deal.
Well, thank you so much again. And I just love you so much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, moneymakers, until next time, go out there and make that money. If you want to put more money into the wallets of women like we do, then check out our website, thewomanownedwallet.com. And we can't wait to continue the conversation on our social media. So definitely follow us on our Instagram, @womanowned.wallet, and on TikTok, @womanownedwallet. You can support us by following our podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. And don't forget to leave us a review. Thank you for listening to Woman Owned Wallet, the podcast.